Hello, everybody. Good morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. It is afternoon over here in the UK. It's just minutes before 1 p.m. And yeah, I scheduled this video in yesterday. Hey, 4DV, how you doing? Good to have you. Sean, shout out to you. Thank you for joining. Yeah, so I was just browsing YouTube and I saw this video yesterday and I thought, yeah, we need to talk about this. Let's talk about this. Just because, and many of you probably won't be able to appreciate this, but I have been very, well, at least my entire, I wouldn't say channel, but a lot of my research was sidetracked by the whole Nolan's Odyssey controversy, which I felt forced to involve myself in that culture war, of which I have no interest in culture wars and these idiot grifters who basically complain about everything. But I made this very clear to my channel on the King's Monologue, I had to respond because what I saw was a group of white men attacking a black woman. And irrespective of the fact that these guys feel offended by everything, there was a real particular, strong and overt way that they were dealing with Lupita Nyong'o. It was overt, it was vile. It's like they were just saying anything they want. They still call her names: Helen of Congo, Helen of Detroit, Felon of Detroit. It's like they're just so pathetic. And all of this because she accepted a role. Bear in mind, she didn't bank run this movie. She didn't fund this movie. She didn't co-write this movie. She didn't direct this movie. She's not involved in the production team. She is literally an actress, a single actor out of hundreds who have been commissioned to take part in this movie. And all of their anger and bile was directed towards her. It's her. She's the reason. And you know, one grifter in particular who really made an enemy out of her and really has just like built up his entire brand on being as derogatory as possible as he can is Metatron. And the sad thing is, Metatron is someone I would never say that I used to respect him. I had no respect for him, but he's someone I didn't used to despise, I would say. I just thought we have a difference of views. And I did have, although I didn't respect him, I did respect the fact that, you know, he had a platform and he seemed to carry his platform with a degree of integrity. Well, that's gone. He's now just a full-on far-right racist, and he hates being called that, but he is absolutely probably one of the most vile racists I've come across. And one of the things about European racism, and this is the type that he exhibits, is that European racism is far more cowardly than American racism. Yeah, Americans wear their racism on their sleeve, and when they're racist, say, "Damn right, I'm a racist." God damn it, what did you think? Like you, you better be sure that I'm a racist. I don't like none of y'all. Yeah, they are. You know, when Americans are racist, they wear their racism on their sleeve. They're proud of it. They, you know, they say it with their chest. You know, your Chud the Builders, your Nick Fuenteses. You know, they're gonna give you the hard R, and they're going to leave you in no doubt in regards to where they stand. The cowardly, sniveling, conniving, snide little, you know, feckless, racist like Metatron, they'll say, well, there's nothing racist about what I'm saying. I just call her Helen of Congo. I could call her Helen of anything, you know. She's not doing this. She's not pretty. She's ugly. Like, and they'll say all the nasty, derogatory things. But because they don't use the hard R, they'll say that it's got nothing to do with racism. It's to do with political correctness. I'm not politically correct. There's nothing wrong with being proud to be white. You're just a racist. Just flipping admit you're a racist, wear it on your sleeve. And another of these racists is the critical drinker. He's a racist. Okay, he'll tell you he's not a racist. Once again, his American counterpart in this kind of like film critic world is a guy called Nerdrotic. and he's once again an American, so he wears his racism out on his sleeve. He's more kind of like, yeah, I'm a racist, you know. He's quite proud of the fact that he's racist. But the British ones, the Europeans, they're so cowardly. They're all too scared and conniving to ever admit that they're racist. But they want to say all of the racist things that racists say. And you know for a fact when they're with their friends and when they're in their circles, they're using all of the hard R and all those words, and they become the people that we can all see that they are anyway. And so I have no respect for them. But anyway, this video here is another one of these grifters. And the reason I'm gonna play this video, or at least watch some of it, well, I'll watch as much of it until I kind of like get bored and don't want to watch it anymore, is because this is one of the people who essentially started this campaign against the Odyssey. Do I care that they were campaigning against the Odyssey? No, I don't care. Do I care that they had this big kind of like anti-woke brigade campaign where they hate every time a black actor is cast or a woman is cast? No, I don't. Am I gonna start doing cultural video reviews? No, I'm not. I got involved because they were attacking a black woman and I didn't like the flavor and the taste of what they were doing. I think they were trying to normalize this kind of behavior, this kind of language, and they were setting the bar in terms of the things that they were saying about her. They were setting the bar so low, it now means any, like, this is what they do. They kind of shift everybody in this. They go so extreme that now, you know, we've gone from here to like here. And so they've gone so extreme in the way they've reacted to this film. It's now going to be like every time a black person's cast for a role, we're going to need to justify it. Every time a director thinks about casting a black person for a role, we're going to need to have a conversation about it. It's like their overreaction is deliberate because they know it will set the industry back. This is how you push through anti-DEI measures. Do you know what I mean? White men went from saying, hey, we think everybody should be, we think it should be equal, we think everyone should get a job based on meritocracy, to just blatantly Elon Musk firing black people, you know, searching the word black on government databases, finding all the black employees and firing them. That came out. That was like that. This happened. Do you know? So this is what they do. They make extreme arguments which basically move the needle so far over to their side that even when it corrects, you're still in a place where you're being discriminated against. And that's what they're doing. Yeah, they know exactly what they're doing. So anyway, we're now in the aftermath, and we know that the Odyssey has been a critical success. I didn't like it. I did a review of it. I thought it was a very nothing movie. It didn't have me emotionally invested, but then I didn't have to defend a certain position. I didn't have to like it. I was only here to defend, you know, to defend Lupita Nyong'o and to defend black women, and to also make sure that these people don't push their ahistorical narratives on people. Because one of the good things that I'd say this whole saga has done is exposed me to the classics far more. It's exposed me to Greek literature. And I realize how much these white people, or I should say, how much these pink men are coping, how much they've inserted themselves into histories that don't include them. You know, people are like, oh, Helen of Troy had blonde hair and blue eyes. No, she the hell did not. If you go back to the literature, no, she didn't. She definitely did not. She wasn't described as a white woman. All of that is an exaggeration. And in addition to that, the main protagonists, the heroes of the story, are black. Odysseus is described as a black-skinned man with hair like the hyacinth flower, which is basically like a loose afro, okay? He's described as a black-skinned man with afro hair. That's how he is described, yeah? Where you get descriptions of people, overt descriptions, they match black and or deeply melanated populations. They don't describe anybody as pink or white. They only use white, by the way, by basically mistranslating certain words, which don't mean what they say they mean. They've been kind of changed. And I can prove that. I've got a video coming soon. So just stay tuned to the King's Monologue, because I'm going to be exposing the whole Lucas fraud that 19th century translators created, the LSJ. They created a fraud where people believe certain word or a certain word means white, and it never meant white. It never meant white. But we'll come on to that. But the point being, I'm glad that I've been exposed to that world now, because now I've got a whole new line of inquiry that I can destroy and wreck the dreams of these Eurocentrists. And you know how much I love doing that. I love wrecking the dreams of Eurocentrists using scholarship. So we're going to be doing that. So they're going to actually really regret that they put me, and not just me, others, you know, Trill Black's done a fantastic job. There's a few other scholars in the area. Yeah. You're going to regret that you invited us into this discussion. You dragged us, you forced us to come into this discussion. And oh my God, you're going to regret it, because we're going to expose what this literature truly says. One of the things I guarantee you I will do by the end of this, I'm going to crush the fallacy, the lie of Western civilization. This has always been something that has bothered me. This made up thing. Oh, Western civilization doesn't exist. It's something you made up in the 19th century. You made up Western civilization to cling on to earlier civilizations and act like, oh, those were our forefathers. No, they weren't. They didn't like you. They hunted you like dogs and they thought you smelt. That's the reality. Okay, that's the reality. You guys are going to regret that you forced me to get into this discussion. I'm going to destroy your version of history. I promise you that. I promise you, I'm going to destroy your version of history. Yeah, with scholarship, by the way. I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to tell people and expose to people what is actually written. And people are going to have to be faced with the fact that be proud of what you are and what you are not. Okay. Ancient Greeks, ancient Romans, they were part of a Mediterranean civilization. They aligned themselves with Asia and Africa. Okay. In fact, their nations was as far into Europe as they like to go. That's the reality. Yeah, the fallacy that you guys try to push is that, oh, yes, oh, Western civilization and ancient Greece just loved us, you know, stone dragging, knuckle dragging, cave dwelling Northern Europeans. No, they did not. Okay. They really didn't like you. So anyway, you open that kettle of fish. Yeah, this is what you did. So blame yourselves. Let's start this video, because I'm going to go into a very unrighteous rant. All right. And I don't want to. Let's start this video. And what you'll find in this video is Critical Drinker, the person who started this, or him and a couple other creators who started this whole anti-Odyssey, as soon as they found out that a black woman was cast as Helen of Troy, and they decided they wanted to bring down the Odyssey. They used all of their might. Each of them created dozens of videos on this subject. Yeah, easily in their space. This was easily, by a long shot, the most reviewed, the most talked about, the most heavily covered property that has come out in cinema for a long time. There's never been a video with, I mean, Metatron's got, I think by now, over 100 videos on this topic. Over 100 videos, and a vast majority of them have Lupita Nyong'o's face in the thumbnail. Nerdrotic has got dozens. Critical Drinker has got, like, they've all got loads and loads and loads of videos, and they used all their might to try to make sure this wasn't a success, and it failed. It's a massive success. And in fact, all they did, I think, is they just drove extra eyes towards it, because I only watched it because of the controversy. I am no Christopher Nolan fan. I could have missed the Odyssey easily. I could have easily just caught up on this later on, you know, on streaming services. But I watched it because I had to, in response to the crap that they were saying. So they created, they failed, basically. Ultimately, they failed. And all the things that they've said, everybody agrees that Lupita Nyong'o's casting was absolutely either really good or fine. It sits between that range. Everyone's kind of okay with it. No one's really offended with it. When you watch the movie, it makes total sense. No one's offended by the casting of the Elliot Page. Elliot Page. works really well. Okay, no one's offended with it. He wasn't Achilles. They didn't know what to do with that. So everything they predicted didn't happen. The movie went really well, and they failed. Their entire scheme to destroy this movie and go woke, go broke, or whatever it is, the crap that they come out with. Everything that they set out to do absolutely failed. Everything they said about the movie was wrong. So right now they're just sitting there with egg on their face, and they're all trying to play this game of, oh well, I kind of knew it was going to be like that. It's like, no, you didn't, you clown, you absolute clown. You thought you were going to destroy it. You thought that it was going to be the end of cinema. You thought, and no one agrees with you. So now their entire culture war is dead. They lost, and this is the remnants of their losing. This is an interview with the Critical Drinker on a channel called Trigonometry. I don't think I like the channel from the little I've seen in this interview, and I certainly don't like Critical Drinker. He's a piece of shit, but we're gonna see what he has to say anyway, and we'll review this until we get bored. So that's what we're doing today. Okay, if you like it, stick around. If you don't like the sound of it, you know what you can do. But shout out to those of you who are with me. Let's have some fun with this. Let me just set something up in the back, and then we'll get to go. I am live. I'm just putting on my live YouTube analytics so I can keep an eye on that and keep an eye on the comments from 2 views. I have to stop that. Done. Okay, let's go. We're good to go.
That like button and leaving a comment with your thoughts.
I might as well wind it back. Okay.
I still stand by my overall assessment in my video, which is it's meh. I've heard some people talk about this as being one of the greatest movies ever made.
No.
And it's insane. It's like, how many movies have you watched? And I'd find The Odyssey as a hero's journey with no hero.
Do you think Hollywood might actually be waking up and smelling the proverbial coffee?
Yes, they are. They've very much pivoted away from all that like political identity politics pandering. And it took tens of billions of dollars in lost revenue, probably over a decade, to finally realize it. But
you know, the fun, this guy, I love the way they try and frame their loss as a victory. Okay, the whole thing about this movie was your anti-woke attack, and you failed, and now you're trying to act like this is some kind of a victory, and it had something to do with you. It had nothing to do with you. By the time you guys started whining, the film was essentially already completed. You did nothing but promote it with your anti-woke crap, which shows that all of your best efforts, the whole brigade of you working together, you can't do anything. You have no influence. You have no impact. You're just a bunch of whiny, whinging white males who wish that the only person that ever cast in movie was you.
they got there in the end. It's just a shame that, you know, so many of these pop culture franchises that we grew up with, you know, whether it's Star Trek, or Star Wars, or Indiana Jones, whatever it might be, they've all been casualties of war in the process.
Trigonometry is proudly independent, and sponsors like Hillsdale College make that.
And the hilarious thing is he's just whining about people's different tastes in movies. Not every movie is a box office smash. All we've seen in the last few years is that some movies do really well, some movies don't do well. There is never a binary connection between how woke, how they bastardize that word, the cast is, or the message is. It's just really boils down to, is it a good movie or not? You can have an all-black cast with loads of female leads like Black Panther that absolutely smashes it in the box office. You can have a really almost far, you know, heavily conservative movie with an almost white male cast like The Odyssey that also does really well in the box office. I went the other day to see Spider-Man. I thought it was wicked. Yeah, some people don't like Spider-Man. I thought that last Spider-Man movie was top-notch. I'm not concentrating on the number of ethnic minorities in the cast. I just go there and enjoy a good movie, something that these idiots can't do.
Possible. Access their free library of world-class educational courses at hillsdale.edu/trigger.
Many of you have commented that you are seeing too many ads in our videos. We've listened to your feedback and disabled YouTube ads in the middle of our interviews. Can we ask you a favor in return? According to our analytics, most of you who watch our show are not subscribed to the channel. Please help us to continue bringing you fans.
I've got the same problem on my channel, okay? Most of you who watch my videos are not subscribed to the channel. Please help the channel to grow by clicking the subscribe button right now. Okay.
fantastic content by subscribing today, hitting that like button, and leaving a comment with your thoughts on this video. Critical Drinker, welcome back to Trigonometry.
Pleasure to be here again.
It's great to have you, man. You're crushing it. You're really enjoying your reviews, and there's a lot to talk about.
There is.
I'll stop lying. No one enjoys Critical Drinkers reviews. The only people who can listen to Critical Drinker do his reviews where he's criticizing everything. Oh my God, she's black. What the heck is going on here? Oh, yeah, go away now. The only people who enjoy the crap that this idiot spits out are people who are lonely, white, male, and angry. It's the same kind of crowd that you see with the manosphere. Okay, same kind of crowd, angry at the world for no apparent reason. He doesn't do good reviews. He doesn't even know how to review a movie. And you're going to see from this video as well, he knows nothing about the things that he actually talks about. Shout out to Fabrice. I'm going to also co-sign what he just said. Please like the stream.
Yes, it's been a busy time in movies, hasn't it?
It has been, which is somewhat exciting in many ways, but we'll get into all the different ones. The first thing you said when you sat down here, and I was like, well, I really enjoyed your review of The Odyssey, and you were like, I have got so much hate. I thought you gave a very balanced and fair review, which actually is what generates hate on the internet now.
He got hate for his review of The Odyssey because even though he said it was meh, his audience was still angry with him because he spent the last few months in the build-up to its release talking about what a disaster it was going to be and how certain things like the casting were going to ruin it. In the end, the casting was fantastic. The movie I thought was meh, but most people think the movie was fantastic. And all of the culture war talking points that they raised were entirely irrelevant. So all he did was advertise the movie and then at the end of it, watch it and probably enjoy it more than he's actually sharing here. So this is someone who is just entirely disingenuous. And they're like, oh, I liked your review. I really liked your review. Really? What did he say in his review that was even in any way, shape, or form insightful? Absolutely nothing.
Nowadays.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people won't even have bothered watching the review. They'll just assume that I hate it. And then, yeah, the reality is, like, I was fairly meh on the movie overall. You know, I praised some technical aspects of it, recognized that Christopher Nolan's a very competent director. And really, yeah, my own.
Recognize that Christopher Nolan, very competent director. Yeah. Oh, well done. How astute of you. You recognized that the most highly acclaimed director of our generation was competent. How did you come to that conclusion? Oh my God. You had to recognize it, you idiot. Yeah. Oh, he's acting like he's done something magnanimous and praiseworthy. I recognize that he's a competent director. Oh, unlike you, who he, by the way, guys, this guy has made a movie. Okay, I know none of you, there's no reason why anyone watching this should know this, but this clown here has made a movie, and it might be one of the worst parody movies of an action movie you've ever come across. It's absolutely terrible. And the protagonist, by the way, he cast the protagonist that looks exactly like him. And he's got a name like one of the most stupid names, like Dirk Johnson or something like that. This guy's a moron, honestly.
The only real issue was the lack of emotional engagement and how kind of removed and cool and sterile it is. But that's just a hallmark of Christopher Nolan movies at this point. So, yeah, it's become a very contentious film, unfortunately. It's just the way it's gone.
Yeah, and why?
And it's the ironic thing is he always constantly talks about the fact that he only likes white men to be stoic. Why can't he be stoic? I wish he was stoic. You know, why wasn't it good in the good old days when white men were stoic and quiet and they didn't have to prove themselves to anybody? And then when he gets a character like Odysseus, who literally is the archetype of the people that he whinges about not seeing on screen, he goes, oh, there's no emotional investment. Well done. Well, that's what happens when you cast every white male as stoic. Yeah, it's boring to watch. Idiots.
Why do you think it is so contentious?
It's probably because of the race swapping and the casting choices that they've made. Because when it was first announced, everyone was pretty enthusiastic about it, myself included. You know, it's a Christopher Nolan movie. He did great with Oppenheimer. Now he's going to tackle the Odyssey, like one of the foundational stories of Western civilization. Fantastic. I'm sure he's going to do a great job of it. And then you see the first trailer that came out. You know, you find out that Lupita Nyong'o is going to be playing Helen of Troy. Obviously, that's quite a change from what we know Helen of Troy to be. Elliot Page is going to be in it. The assumption at first was that they were going to be playing Achilles, which would have been really hilarious, but it wasn't that in the end. But still, it just...
So all he's talking about here is he's talking about all the stupid assumptions that they made, which were wrong. Okay, is the race swapping? That's not the well. No one's complaining about the race swapping. I haven't seen a single competent reviewer say that the race swapping or the casting of Lupita Nyong'o ruined or detracted from the movie, because it just absolutely did not. It only did if you're a racist idiot. If you know anything about ancient Greece, actually her presence in the film makes far more sense than Matt Damon's. Okay, if you know anything about ancient Greece, if you actually read literature and you care about historical accuracy, yeah, people who look like, who was the rapper that was in it? Travis Scott and Lupita Nyong'o being present makes far more historical sense than people who look like Matt Damon, who likely have been hunted out because they were so barbaric. This is the reality of history that you guys don't want to face. You want to face this kind of like mythical version of reality where Greek and white are synonymous and they kind of overlap. That's not what's described. Okay, that's not what the Greeks said. I've gone through an entire live stream where we look at how the Greeks described themselves, and they always drew contrast between themselves and the Northern European populations. That's the group that you belong to, critical drinker. That's your population. So the fact that you're saying that, oh, it was the race swapping. Oh, the race swapping. Oh yeah, that ruined it. It did. Yeah, the race swapping. Oh, that's what the controversy was about. That's no, you created that controversy. You created that controversy. Okay. Diverse cast is just something that comes with Hollywood. It's something that this entire world is okay with and was getting used to before you guys came out with your culture war, anti-black, anti-integration list channels where you decide to make a big song and dance every time a woman or a black person is in a role that is not menial. You created that. You created that reality. It didn't exist before you. You are single-handedly trying to take cinema back 100 years. This is what pisses me off about these people.
It generated this crazy pushback online. I'd never seen anything like it since probably Snow White, with Rachel Zegler and all the stupid things that she was saying. That same level of vitriol was suddenly leveled at the movie. And like I say, it's not what I would have expected from a Christopher Nolan film.
What do you notice how also he's speaking in third person? He's acting like he was like an observer of it. Oh, it created this crazy pushback, and so many people was just like, oh, it was crazy. I wouldn't have expected it. Like, so, mate, you were the architect. Yeah, people were reacting to the videos that you created. Yeah, you, Nerdrotic, that idiot Metatron, you were the ones who created these videos. Yeah, you created these videos which got all of these single, lonely, angry white men really wound up. But that was you. Don't act like it was some externality that happened and you observed. You created that. Oh, it was this crazy. Oh, the people, people call people racist towards Lupita. It was disgusting. Like that.
What was interesting to me is seeing that reaction, which, by the way, look, somewhat understandable given the sort of era of constant, inserting artificially in many cases a sort of artificial diversity into things. But actually, interestingly, watching your review is very similar to what I wrote about it, which is, yes, Helen of Troy probably didn't look like Lupita Nyong'o, and Elliot Page again, but they didn't really, that casting didn't really massively affect your experience of the movie, and mine either.
No, I mean, it was one of the first things I wanted.
There you go. There's the headline, okay? It didn't affect the movie. So all of that whinging and whining didn't affect the movie. You once again have made a mountain out of a molehill. You've created a drama where none, and they've obviously farmed the benefit of this. They've made, cumulatively, they have made millions farming this outrage. Okay, so they have all seen off like bandits by creating this rage and this hate where it didn't need to exist.
I wanted to dispel when I did my review. The both of them are in the movie for a grand total of like 5 minutes.
And it is like a Christopher Nolan movie, so it's like 7 hours long.
Exactly, yeah. And so, the focus is much more on other characters. They're very much just ancillary to the main story. And so it didn't really impact my perception of the film. Like I say, my bigger issue with it was just the lack of...
So he just admitted it didn't affect the movie. It didn't affect his enjoyment of the film. They went so at that point, that's the point where you've got to turn back and say, so really, we made a big deal out of nothing. I wish we hadn't made it. He's never going to say that. He's never going to say that. He's never going to actually take responsibility for being an idiot, for being a race baiter, for being a outrage farmer, for being a poison to progress, for almost, or at least attempted to, not almost, didn't even get it close, but for attempting to derail something that, you know, would have been a interesting property that we've all managed to enjoy. All of this, for even trying to, many of them personal attacks, the amount of personal attacks that Lupita Nyong'o has faced, like she's been literally cyberbullied since this took place, and Christopher Nolan as well. All of this created by this moron and his ilk, a handful of them, handful of these idiot creators, and he's talking about it like it's something that he had nothing to do with. He just sat back unobserved. Mate, how many channels are out there that have the reach that yours does? You stupid idiot. Like, how many channels are, he's acting like, oh yeah, the outrage was absolutely massive. The outrage is centered around a few creators. Yeah, if Bob from the pub is outraged about it, he has no outlet. He doesn't have followers. He doesn't have a crowd of people listening to him whinge. But everybody can hear the critical drinker get on his soapbox and be like, oh, guess what, they've classed a black woman again. Oh my god, give me a drink, give me a break.
Of emotional engagement with it. Other people certainly have issues with its fidelity to the original text.
That's me.
Yeah. Obviously, what I've discovered as well is that there's a lot of people who've suddenly decided they're absolute experts on the Odyssey, and that
That's me.
Yeah, online. So again,
sometimes also you'll realize that these people speak and they don't like, that's like dramatic irony. Like, he just described himself. They do this a lot, by the way. So he just literally described himself. Let's just bring back exactly what he just said there.
yeah. Obviously, what I've discovered as well is that there's a lot of people who've suddenly decided they're absolute experts on the Odyssey, and that
That's me.
Yeah, online. So again, that's another fun aspect of this. You don't know how much you really want to believe from people, but yeah, as I understand it, he has.
And by the way, these are guys who regularly review movies that they haven't watched. They've seen a trailer. Like, they create an hour review over a trailer they've watched. And then he's talking about people pretending or acting like they're experts. You're going to see even now, he still doesn't know what the Odyssey is about. I'm convinced this guy has never engaged with the literature in the Odyssey. He doesn't need to. He just listens to his other grifters and thinks he understands what the story is about. He doesn't understand anything about the story. He's an idiot, as Dotarai just said. Yeah,
taken quite a few liberties, particularly with the characterization of Odysseus, you know, turning him from this brave adventurer with this burning desire to get home to his family into basically a Vietnam vet with PTSD and survivor's guilt. That's a very big change to the meaning of the story. And again, people who are familiar with it took issue with it. But apparently...
How to say I've never read the Odyssey without saying I've never read the Odyssey. Before I comment on that, I'm just going to bring back exactly what he just said there, because this guy is really just the king, and he hasn't learned. He's done this before. I think he was on a panel before. I mean, he got an interview before, and he was talking about, oh yeah, I don't even watch Western movies anymore. I just watch the Japanese movies. Are so much better, you know. They're not so much better. And then the interview just innocently says, okay, wait, oh wicked, which Japanese titles do you like? He's like, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. So he draws for something that was like Chinese and 20 years old, and then he's like, oh, and I also like, well, you know, and he mentions like 3 movies. None of them are Chinese. I mean, none of them are Japanese. And it's like, you're just a grifter. You don't know what you're talking about. You just make stuff up on the fly. But anyway, let me play back what this idiot just said about Odysseus, because this is hilarious.
Online. So again, that's another fun aspect of this. You don't know how much you really want to believe from people, but yeah, as I understand it, he has taken quite a few liberties, particularly with the characterization of Odysseus, you know, turning him from this brave adventurer with this burning desire to get home to his family into basically a Vietnam vet with PTSD.
So a brave adventurer who just wants to get back to his family. I believe the Odyssey begins with the phrase Odysseus, and there's been controversy over the wording that's used. Some people have said he's, I think it was, what's her face? Emily Wilson's translator said he's complicated. Some have translated the word to trickster. Some have translated the word to deceiver. Yeah, so you've got all of these words, but that's literally how it opens, okay? He's not some like brave, stoic hero trying to get back to his family like he's just described it. Yes, he wanted to get back, but this is a very emotional character who constantly cries, okay, who is very deceptive, who uses deceit. That's his whole thing. He came up with the Trojan horse, okay. He knows how to not only manipulate people, but he also knows how to deceive and trick people. He can be incredibly proud as well. When they were when they blinded the giant Cyclops, he shouted out, you know, I am Odysseus, because he was a very, very proud man. Like, he has all of these. He was a cattle thief, someone's just mentioned there as well. He, you know, he has all of these flaws. He has a long list of flaws in his character. He's a very flawed individual, okay. And I mentioned this in the video before. He doesn't need to be perfect. The only people who are groaning and dreaming for Odysseus to be perfect are this audience of white males who need him to be real. They need him to be a real historical character. He's a fiction character. He's a mythos, okay? And he's flawed. He's got all the flaws of an ancient hero. Heroes were always flawed. That is a fact, okay? Is none of the things that the critical drinker just said. As like, oh yeah, he's mischaracterized him. Well, what Christopher Nolan did, and Christopher Nolan did make him very conservative. So Christopher Nolan's Odysseus is very, very stoic and unflawed. Actually, normally someone who would be perfect for the critical drinker. But even what Christopher Nolan created is closer than what the critical drinker just described. They're always trying to make out that every white male in history has to be Jesus Christ to these people.
And survivor's guilt.
But Odysseus is not a white male, by the way, just to be clear, not a white male. If we're going to use the Homeric text strictly, he was black skinned with afro hair, or hair like the hyacinth flower. So, you know, sounds like a black guy to me, or at least a heavily melanated guy. That's the description. Don't shoot the messenger. The same word that was used to describe Odysseus was used to describe Memnon and was used to describe Eurybates. And everyone agrees that Eurybates was like an Ethiopian, a black person. He's kind of like the person who worked with him. There's no discrimination. There's absolutely no kind of like controversy over the fact that Eurybates was black. And Eurybates is described exactly the same way that Odysseus is described. Meloncrus, black-skinned. They have the same description. So you can't accept, but the thing is, the translations, and even Emily Wilson's translation does this, when it describes Eurybates, it describes him as black. When it describes Odysseus, they turn that same word, the identical word, they turn it into tanned. So this is why I told you, you should not have opened this world to me and the researchers and Joy Neely, who's in the chat. She's a part of the Members Academy. Listen, we're on another level. We're going to deconstruct what you guys have tried to construct, and you can blame the critical drinker for that.
That's a very big change to the meaning of the story. And again, people who are familiar with it took issue with it. But apparently that all just lumps everyone into the same boat of just the casting became the focal point of everything. So if you had any criticism of the movie, it had to be because of that, not anything else. So it's an interesting approach.
We're still talking about it in the third person like it wasn't him doing all of this. This is like, it's the weirdest attempt at dissociation that I've ever seen in my life. Like, why is he trying to disassociate himself? He did this. You did this, critical drinker. This was your doing, okay? Don't act like it was some, oh yeah, this is so strange. I was all played out. Like we couldn't really believe what's taking. I can't believe what's taking place here. Like, mate, you did. This was you. Yeah, every other video. What the heck?
One of the aspects I thought your review was bang on was when talking about the character of Odysseus, because in the original text, he's actually very smart, very sharp, very bright, but also very arrogant, which leads to his own not only his own downfall, but also the downfall of his men, all of whom died. But I think what's more important is the way that.
And you'll notice this. Did you see? Did you see critical drinker take a sip there? You could always hear him gulp. He's like, oh, whoops. And he's gulping because the other guy, this guy clearly knows the source material. Okay, he's read the book. You could see the passion in the way he's talking. This guy knows the book. Okay, critical drinker doesn't. He thought he was going to come into a podcast and be able to blag like he does to his audience, his unfortunate audience of millions who listen to this guy spit crap about stuff that he knows nothing about. Yeah, and the guy starts talking. He's like, Odysseus is very arrogant. It's his deeds that got his whole crew killed. Yeah, like it was his fault that they all died. And he's like, go away now. He doesn't know what to do with himself. And I want to see how he responds. I'm going to bring that back. That's hilarious. Watch Critical Drinker's reaction here.
Talking about the character of Odysseus, because in the original text, he's actually very smart, very sharp, very bright, but also very arrogant, which leads to his own not only his own downfall, but also the downfall of his men, all of whom died. But I think what's more important is the way that the industry is looking at it. And it looks like it's going to be kind of a shoo-in to do very, very well at the Oscars.
Yeah.
And you're thinking to yourself, well, looking at
He looks like he wants to cry. Sorry.
like it's going to be kind of a shoo-in to do very, very well at the Oscars.
Yeah.
And you're thinking to yourself,
that's someone who just got bad news. He's like, yeah, that's not how I just described Odysseus, is it? I've been rumbled. I've been royally rumbled, haven't I? Stupid idiot.
well, looking at it, you're going, hey, it's not that good, is it?
No. But I mean, how to describe it? It's I'd rather watch this 100 times over than just another piece of superhero slop or franchise, some old franchise like Star Wars.
I'd rather watch this than superhero slop or some old franchise. Sounds like he's describing Spider-Man, the movie that came out last week and is possibly the most successful Marvel Cinematic Universe release in history. It's outperforming Endgame. I mean, I'm not sure about you guys, but I would call that superhero. I would call that old franchise. I would call that all of the things that he's just decried. And yet, despite your best attempts, it's doing really well. It also has a black female, love interest, which I'm sure these guys are over the moon with. Yeah. It's got a best friend who's like Chinese or Oriental. I don't know, Far Eastern, I should say. He looks Filipino, that guy, but I could be wrong about him. All of the things that you guys normally have a massive problem with. It has a lead black guy who's a villain in this case. But I think these guys are all right with black villains. They like black villains. But it seems to do all of the things that you guys say: go work, go broke. Oh my gosh, you're trying too much. Oh, girl boss is empowered. It's got a female antagonist who's very powerful, very hard to beat. Oh, you guys, you sidestepping that one, eh? Critical drinker. That one you're just doing all right with. That one you're just letting it lie because it doesn't quite fit your narrative, eh? Critical drinker. Oh, what an idiot. Let me give a quick shout out. Shout out to Drago. Thank you very much for your $2 donation. It's much appreciated. Have you seen the Boozy Bartender parody? I have not. I will check it out, but it'll have to be after the stream. Sounds interesting. Yeah, let's carry on.
Wars or Jurassic Park getting recycled for the dozenth time. So
what about Spider-Man? What about Spider-Man getting, just in kind of like recent lifetimes only, this would be so there's been 1, 2, 3 Tobey Maguire, 1, 2 Andrew Garfield, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 9th Spider-Man movie in the last 25 years. The 9th Spider-Man movie. Yeah? You're not tired of that, no? No, because it breaks everything you're just about to say, because once again, you try to apply these rules and they never work. Because guess what? Movies are nuanced and people make different decisions for liking movies that sits outside of their political affiliations. In fact, people who bring politics into movies tend to not enjoy them. And they end up being miserable drinkers like you. Actually, grifters. You're just a grifter. You're doing it for the money. Let's be honest. You probably enjoy all of these movies when all is said and done.
It's taken a stab at least something a little more interesting. So I guess if I was pushed, yeah, I'd rather that succeeded than other films of lesser artistic merit. But still, yeah, it's ultimately, I found it to be a bit of a slog. It's very slow paced. It's very lacking in emotional resonance, lacking in urgency. Took a lot of liberties with the characters. Yeah, I still stand by my overall assessment in my video, which is it's meh.
It's not slow paced, okay? And obviously movie reviews are subjective, and I said I didn't like it for the lack of emotional buy-in, but I don't think there was really a pacing issue. I do think there was a connection issue, and I've mentioned that in my review. You know, I didn't feel connected to any of the characters. It just didn't manage to achieve that for me. And I did feel like there was a definite kind of like problem with the suspension of disbelief when it came to the American accents and the kind of like modern speak. And I get the fact that you're just trying to bring it into modern language, but then when you're going for the ancient costumes and everything else feels ancient, it's kind of like, do you want to make more of an attempt? I don't know. But to be honest with you, I would still prefer that than the fake British accents they normally put on. So I guess it's an improvement on that.
Didn't hate it, didn't love it. It's just in the middle.
Because I think it speaks more broadly to the conversation about the quality of movie making at the moment, that it's been hyped so much. Whereas, let's say, I mean, we're all of a certain age now, certain vintage, shall we say. If this was, I'm just going to pick a movie year at random, something like 1996, would this even have been talked about as much? Would it have been hyped as much? Would everybody be as energized? Or would it just simply be seen as just another big budget Hollywood movie, which is all right, but let's be honest, nothing special. Maxim would have given it 3 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
If it was 1996, you know what definitely wouldn't have happened? There wouldn't have been a bunch of insecure, feminine white men out there complaining about the race baiting, because surprisingly as it is, back in 1996, everyone would have just been fine. It would have probably been a lot of excitement about the fact that Lupita Nyong'o was playing Helen of Troy, because unfortunately, I should say fortunately back then, but unfortunately now we live in a world that is saturated with these far right, conservative, insecure, pathetic male mouthpieces who do nothing more than push their misogyny, their sexism, their racism out to the masses and monetize from it greatly. That's the world we live in. We live in a world of these mini Trump mouthpieces. That's what these idiots are. So that's the irony. If it was 1996, there wouldn't have been any big song and dance or fanfare in terms of the build up to its release, because people had better things to worry about than the casting choices of a private Hollywood enterprise. But now these men who have literally nothing to complain about talk about first world issues. Yeah, when your biggest complaint, the biggest example you can give of being persecuted, we're being persecuted. So the white male figure is being castrated, isn't it? Oh, they're really coming for us. The biggest examples they can give us of that is a few black people getting jobs and a few black people starring in movies. I know, here's the other big one. Oh, black people in adverts. Oh, black people make up 50% of the people in adverts. That's their example of persecution. Oh my God, to be a white male in this world. Oh, the trials and the tribulations you face. Oh, poor you.
I think the thing that always puts it into perspective for me is, like, I do a weekly live stream, and one of the segments that we've done on that is for each year of cinema, we'll like go through some of the top movies of that year, the biggest box office earners, or some of the most well-regarded films of that year. And every time we've done it, all throughout the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, you're just hit with classic after classic, and you think, my God, we were spoiled back then, absolutely spoiled.
And you would have complained about every single movie that was released in the 80s and the 90s, without a doubt. You would have called it work trash. You would have trashed Terminator 1, 2, and 3. Well, let's not say 3 was crap. Sorry. You would have trashed Terminator 1 and 2. You would have trashed The Matrix, because they all had leading ladies. Oh my God, imagine The Matrix coming out now with Morpheus. With Morpheus. The black, you know what I mean? The black co-lead in that movie. With Trinity, the girl boss, kicking people around. He would have trashed The Matrix. And ended up being one of the greatest movies. Well, when I was growing up, for me, it was one of the greatest movies I'd ever seen in my life. Okay, Terminator 1 and 2, absolute classic. Sarah Connor, girl boss. yeah, beating the crap out of everybody after being a victim well, actually, she went from the victim to kind of a bit of a girl boss in Terminator 1 as well. Imagine what these idiots would have said about these Alien, Scrawny Weaver, yeah, all of these classics that we grew up with. They would have trashed every single one of them. And he's talking about, oh, classic after classic after classic after classic. Yeah, Niobe, yes, in the Matrix, and also who's the Oracle, yeah, black woman. Oh my God, an old black woman as the Oracle, as the all-seeing Oracle. Imagine what critical. Oh yeah, yeah, typical, isn't it? They couldn't just get a wise white man to play this. Had to be an old black lady. Oh, what's she gonna do? Hand over her SBT check or something? Make some stupid joke like that. That's what he would have said. This guy is an idiot. Talking about classics.
And it might be that the era we're living in now, you've essentially got what would have been considered an okay-ish film 10, 15, 20 years ago is now hailed as this all-conquering masterpiece. Like, I've heard some people talk about this as being one of the greatest movies ever made.
No.
And it's insane. It's like, how many movies have you watched, man?
But it seems like
this is the issue. He doesn't understand, like, that's just anachronism to say that the movie phase that we're in now is really, really bad. And he needs to say that as a cope to justify the fact that he just trashes everything that comes out. In reality, all the movies that he's trashed, the generations that come after us are going to look back at those movies and love them. You know, the irony is, like, Troy, I hated Troy when it came out. I thought it was trash. Okay. I now really like Troy. Okay. I remember when it came out, and I know, and obviously I watch it now and I'm like, I really like this movie. It grew on me over time. Okay, people always kind of have that anachronistic view when it comes to how they digest, you know, art. That's what happens. You have these eras, and there's just no way that in 20 years' time, people aren't going to look back at the era of movies that are being made now and not have the same affection for them. A perfect example is the Spider-Man trilogy. Okay, the Tobey Maguire. The generation above mine love that Spider-Man trilogy. When Spider-Man trilogy came out and I was young, Spider-Man was like, Tobey Maguire was like, who cast this idiot? I just thought he was the worst actor. I thought Kirsten Dunst. I was like, what are you doing with Kirsten Dunst? Like, respectfully, like, Mary J's supposed to be like, like, we were all used to the Spider-Man cartoon. We had this vision of what Mary Jane was gonna look like, and then they cast Kirsten Dunst. So I'm like, where'd you get what the heck is going on here? Like, everything about that entire early Tobey Maguire was kind of like, yeah, you just need to redo this whole thing. But now it's beloved. People go back and they watch it and they love it. Not so much the Andrew Garfield ones. I don't think they'll ever be beloved, but that's the point. People move on. Like this whole world he has to create where everything's failing and cinema is about to collapse. It's like, nah, no, it ain't, mate. No, it ain't. Okay. In spite of streaming and in spite of the changes, movies are still being made the same way they were before. The only thing that's happening is idiots like this are trying to derail movies from continuing to progress and continuing to have kind of like diverse casts because it makes them feel insecure.
We've all kind of got like woke PTSD in a way, where we had this narrative shoved down our throat for so long that Top Gun 2 comes along. And let's be honest, I mean, maybe you think different.
Imagine a white man complaining about narratives being shoved down their throat. These are white people who have become so accustomed to narratives being shoved down their throat. They think the entire ancient world in the Mediterranean was filled with pink-skinned, blonde-haired people. That's how much they have been. The rest of the world is filled with their narratives. Everybody is pink-skinned, blonde-haired. In North Africa, yeah, throughout North Africa, yeah, throughout Southern Europe, throughout the Middle East, even though that portion of the world right now is whiter than it's ever been in history. It's now more white than it's ever been in history. This is documented historical anthropological fact. You can see the flow of population from the Black Sea, from Europe, from the different regions into the Mediterranean. So even now, the Mediterranean is magnitudes darker than, you know, your average kind of like, you know, American or, you know, Northern European state or Western European state. And even now that's the case. And yet they still are convinced that the pharaohs were white with blonde hair, that the emperors were white with blonde hair, that the pre-Greek Bronze Age societies were white with blonde hair. Like, these people are absolutely deluded.
But I kind of think it was like a 7 out of 10, solid 3 out of 5, perfectly enjoyable action movie. But people decrying it as this kind of anti-woke masterpiece, this return to form. Hollywood's back, baby. Isn't it amazing? Guns and all the rest of it. And you're like, really?
It's literally just a normal 80s or 90s action movie. Perfect.
But he's describing Critical Drinker here. I don't know if this guy's actually deliberately trolling Critical Drinker, because he's the type who go, oh yeah, we're back now. Yeah, we've got white male protagonist, white male cast, all white male cast, white men playing black women in blackface. That's how we like it. that's the world that he wants. And I think, is this guy trolling?
Masterpiece, this return to form. Hollywood's back, baby. Isn't it amazing? Guns and all the rest of the piece, this return movie. But people decrying it.
Sorry, Critical Drinker's responses, yeah. Look at his face. He looks so uncomfortable every time this guy kind of like, I think this guy is kind of calling his card every now and then. I could be reading this completely wrong, but it's his responses that make me laugh.
This kind of anti-woke masterpiece, this return to form.
Now, if there's ever been a look of uncomfortability, that is it. I've never seen so. What are you doing, mate? Trying his best to look casual. He's got to take another sip of his drink soon.
Form. Hollywood's back, baby. Isn't it amazing? Guns and all the rest of it. And you're like, really?
It's literally just a normal 80s or 90s action movie. Perfectly fun, perfectly serviceable. The plot doesn't do anything particularly revolutionary. It's just a solid movie. And that, because
it's a boring movie, is what he's saying, basically. It's a boring movie. Audiences have evolved and have moved on. And that's why it probably didn't do that well, because people didn't want to see these boring movies with these predictable, played out storylines and these stoic leading men. It's boring. It's boring, okay? The human appetite for the cinematic arts has developed. It's moved on. It's evolved. And you need to create storylines that evolve with them. People don't want to see those lame played out storylines playing out over and over and over again.
That is so rare nowadays. It does get hailed as this, breakthrough film that like no one saw coming. Whereas, like I say, yeah, if it had come out 20 years ago, people would have just said, it's okay, I guess. Perfectly fine.
It's interesting that you got a lot of hate for.
You're the only people who got excited for Maverick. Yeah, Top Gun Maverick. I haven't heard anyone like, oh, Top Gun Maverick, you got to watch that. Sorry, it would have been an average movie if it released back then, and it was an average movie today. The only people that got excited are your boring ass audience who want everyone to be, you know who.
For what you said about it being made, because to me, and you see this, like I was looking at the Cowshay odds before we started. The movie, the Odyssey starts out as being like 50% chance of winning Best Picture. After it comes out, there's a significant dip actually, and you can see that. So people are kind of going to it and recognizing it's not as good as it was built. But it's interesting you say what Francis is saying about this great desire for Hollywood to be good again. And every time we've had you on, we've talked about Hollywood becoming a bit shit, or potentially even sort of being on the way dying out. But there have been several movies since we've.
And it's funny now, is these the metrics they're using? Oh, the percentage likelihood of it getting the predicted percentage likelihood of it getting an Academy Award has dipped significantly. Is that the metrics we're using now? Is this what we're getting? Is this what we're getting our wins from now? Now all of a sudden, box office doesn't matter. Now all of a sudden, critical acclaim doesn't matter. None of these things matter anymore. The fact that you were wrong about all of your DEI talking points, none of that matters. Now all that matters is, it has dipped slightly in its in our computer predicted model about whether or not it's going to get an Academy Award or not. Is that what we're doing?
We last talked to that I thought were really, really high caliber. For me, Nuremberg, for example, I thought that was fantastic. You gave it a meh kind of response as well. You didn't like it?
I thought it was fine. I mean, I don't know.
He just hates to see the good guys lose.
Critical Drinker's analysis of movies is purely dependent on how white men are treated and perceived. That's what it's 100% focused on. How were the white men perceived? How were the white men treated? Did they coming out looking good or bad? And for a little kicker, if you really want to get a big tick, okay, let's have a black male antagonist who we kill violently at the end. That will always give them that will always galvanize them. They absolutely love that. Yeah. Someone just mentioned, Kaluga just mentioned Sinners. He I think he avoided Sinners, yeah, and his entire audience was like, review Sinners, and he put a review on his second channel because he knew he couldn't trash it because there was nothing to trash. It was just kind of like universally accepted that Sinners is a fantastic movie, okay? Whether or not you kind of dig, like everyone disagrees, this is just a good film. The performances are good, the storyline is good, the music is great, how it's all tied together is great. And so he put a review, a little short 5-minute review on his second channel to avoid putting it on his main channel because he didn't want to upset everybody. Because he knows you can't praise, there was no white males to praise in that. It's kind of like the white people are literally the bad guys and they get slaughtered at the end of the movie. What do you do with that? You just have to ignore it. You have to pretend it doesn't exist because apparently it should have failed as a woke movie. It should have got no backing.
I think performance-wise, like I'm not sure how close Russell Crowe is in terms of Goering, and I think maybe it takes a few historical liberties. I would have rather seen it in a wider context, but yeah, it was fine. Like I watched it on a flight. I didn't watch it in the cinema, but I was pretty entertained by it. You kind of know where it's going.
I'm not sure if Russell Crowe was a good choice for Goering. Like, mate, do everybody a favor. No, don't pretend like you're historically literate. Don't pretend because everyone knows that you're a grifter. Yeah, everybody knows that you just make stuff up as you go along. You have what's called the gift of the gab, which is fine when you're not getting fact checked, but you're like kind of Officer Tatum. When as soon as the fact check comes out, your entire storyline crumbles and you start sipping the drinks. Yeah, that's what you do. So leave the names of the characters of the movies out and don't act like you understand any of this historically because you absolutely do not.
Ultimately, but perfectly fine movie, I think.
Yeah, I thought it was, for me personally, what I found interesting about it, it was something that covered, which was obviously a big topic, and I thought it did it very well. Historically, look, this is the thing we should talk about as well. It's like you say it took liberties with the original text of the Odyssey. I mean, that's what always happens, isn't it? I mean, Peter Jackson, and look, I hated him for it, to be fair. He completely ruined Faramir in Lord of the Rings, which was, to me, irresponsible. It was horrific, unacceptable. He completely, because he reversed the meaning of the character in that.
Yeah, I mean, his part was very much cut down and simplified. They do him a bit more justice in the extended cut, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. His
part was cut down and simplified. No, that wasn't the point he was making about Faramir. Okay? I look at this guy, he's looking back at him like, no, that wasn't my point. Once again, Critical Drinker is doing his grifty thing where he's guessing, I get what you're saying there. With Faramir, yeah, they cut down and they simplified his part. And no, that's not the point. Critical Drinker, have you read The Lord of the Rings just out of interest? Because you don't have to pretend that you have, yeah? I haven't read The Lord of the Rings, okay? I like the trilogy, okay? I have that innocence of not having read The Lord of the Rings. I'm not going to sit there and pretend that I did. But the thing about these grifters, yeah, these pretenders like Critical Drinker, he's going to sit there, swing on his chair. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, they cut down, they simplified this part. That wasn't his point. No, you're wrong. Yeah, you don't have to guess. Just shush, okay? Shush, and let the guy finish his point. You do not understand what you're talking about here.
What I'm saying is, isn't this kind of what always happens? Like, to make a movie, you have to change the story a little bit.
Sure, I can understand like cutting down really long segments, or trimming down really convoluted stuff to make it more digestible. I think the problems creep in though when you change the fundamental meaning of it. I think everyone would concede for whatever liberties Peter Jackson took with Lord of the Rings, he got the essence of the story 100% right. Whereas you could say, well, if you change the very characterization of Odysseus from the Odyssey and his motivation for wanting to get home, you've lost the entire meaning of the story. It becomes something very different now.
Yeah.
So what does Critical Drinker think the meaning behind or his desire to get home was? Because I don't think there was a difference between Odysseus and his desire to get home. I think that was actually preserved. That was entirely the same. Okay, his want and his desire to get home was to get home to his wife Penelope, yeah, and his son Telemachus. Yeah, that's what he wanted to do. That never changed. Okay, I would say that his love for his crew was greatly enhanced by Christopher Nolan. So once again, he's just saying things, but I'm just struggling to understand. And I'm saying this ironically. I'm saying this because I know for a fact he just doesn't know what he's talking about. But it's going to be interesting to see what he says about this.
That's a different kettle of fish for me.
I don't want to be super nerdy, but I will be. That is exactly what they did to Faramir. Faramir in the books is
So he's gone back to the Faramir point now because he wanted to correct the fact that Critical Drinker didn't know what he was talking about. So this is his polite way of saying, back to my Faramir point. Faramir in the books, actually, Critical Drinker, it's got nothing to do with his part being cut down. So let's hear what his actual critique of Faramir was.
The story, it becomes something very different now.
Yeah.
That's a different kettle of fish for me.
I don't want to be super nerdy, but I will be. That is exactly what they did to Faramir. Faramir in the books is...
Did you see the smile of uncomfortability? Sorry.
I don't want to be super nerdy, but I will be. That is exactly what they did to Faramir. Faramir in the...
Whoops, swallow me now. Oh my God, I've been caught again. Yes, you're going to keep getting caught like this because you keep talking authoritatively about things that you haven't studied. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to pretend, Critical Drinker. Stay in your box. I make comedy reviews. That's your box. I make comedy reviews based on feelings, okay? Based on gut feels. That's what you do. Gut feel comedy reviews, yeah? You're not some kind of enhanced, literary reviewer, okay? You're not a qualified critic by any way, shape, or form. You just don't have any of those skills, all right? You're a politically driven, gut feeling comedy review maker. That's your bag. Stay within it.
The books is sorry, is
You're passionate about this character, aren't you?
Well, it's the entire point of that segment of the book, because Boromir falls for the temptation of the ring, and Faramir is his brother who resists the temptation, whereas in the movie he doesn't, and he fails, right? So they did completely change the meaning, which is interesting to your point about Odysseus, because one of the things I found very odd, which you really honed in your review, is like Matt Damon's character is so emotionless, which is very weird. Matt Damon as an actor has incredible range, but he sort of plays this like slightly autistic Jason Bourne character for some reason. Do we know why that was done?
It's because it's a Christopher Nolan movie.
The irony here is that's literally Critical Drinker's archetype of what a male protagonist should be. Should be stoic and serious, shouldn't be making jokes, shouldn't be emotional, shouldn't be this, shouldn't be that. He should be stoic and serious. Well, they can't do it. What they can't let a white male be stoic and serious now. They're gonna probably give that role to a black woman. A black woman's gonna be the one, a black girl boss. That's what he moans about constantly. And then he gets this character who's almost a cookie cutter of the exact type of character that he's been whinging, whining about for years, that he says Hollywood will not create. Christopher Nolan creates one that literally sounds like he's been crafted from the Critical Drinker's, or born from the Critical Drinker's own nutsack. Yeah. And he's not happy with it. It's a Christopher Nolan movie. That's why he don't know how to develop characters. These guys are always whinging. That's the thing. You can't make these people happy. There's no making them happy. They are there to, their position that they want to occupy is victim. Okay. And when someone wants to, and these are the people who will throw out the accusation of victim mentality, by the way, but the position they want to occupy is victim. That's where we want to be the victim. So they have no desire to acknowledge when something, is okay, because then they can't occupy this victim status. They have to create this entire victim status where they're always the ones who are being preyed upon. That's what they have to create,
So he doesn't have a reputation necessarily as an actor's director. From what I'm told, he pretty much just says, right, there's the script, figure it out yourself in terms of your performance. That's why so many of the characters in this movie, so many of the actors, should I say, just seem to be on autopilot. John Bernthal as Menelaus, he's just playing John.
John Bernthal was brilliant as Menelaus. That was like one of my favorite. He was like one of my favorite characters. What's he talking about? He was brilliant. Did anyone else have an issue with the Menelaus character? I thought he was fantastic. What's he talking about, man? So I have to apologize to Obsidian Kitty, okay, for introducing you to these idiots. You don't have to go back to their channels though, okay? There's no need to do that. This is just content, okay? Please do not patronize these people. Please do not patronize, as in like go to their channels, please. But I thought this guy who played Menelaus, I thought he was fantastic. I know he's like he has played very similar roles and with a similar haircut and everything, but I thought he was good. I thought he was really good. I don't know, but he's probably whining because Lupita Nyong'o sat right next to him.
Other tough guy character he's ever played. Tom Holland is just Tom Holland. Like, that's arguably the worst.
Tom Holland was really good as Telemachus as well. He was good. He was really good. You understood the character, you understood the motivation, and the fact that I think he must be like 30 or something years old now. He really carried himself like you kind of, yeah, the suspension of disbelief. You kind of believed that he was someone. He was in there like, you know, teens, late teens, early 20s. So he did really well as well. So I don't know, these guys just whinging.
Performance I think I've seen of his entire acting career. And again, he's a good actor, but in that movie, he gives absolutely nothing because Christopher Nolan doesn't direct people.
He gives absolutely nothing. Aren't we being a bit hyperbolic there? Like, come on, like he was objectively a good performance. Was it like an Oscar worthy performance by Tom Holland? I don't think so. I don't think it was an Oscar worthy performance by Matt Damon either, but they were good performances. That's my personal opinion. You know, they were believable, you know, as much as the movie was okay, but they were good in the movie. The performances in this movie throughout were actually all very good.
Well, he directs ideas.
Robert Pattinson was brilliant, though.
I mean, he gave it his all.
Yeah. Which character is he?
So he played the head, the most evil, the head suitor, the most evil one.
Oh, right. He was very good.
Robert Pattinson was also very good. Yeah, also very good in this movie.
The Vietnam draft dodger.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a experienced actor. Obviously, he understood the assignment in this case and probably took it upon himself to just be, right, I'm going to be the biggest prick that I can possibly be in this movie.
So this is where he's contradicting himself, because he's put the whole argument forward that, you know, he doesn't really develop, you know, we're talking about Christopher Nolan doesn't really try to develop characters. He just kind of gives them the script, tells them to get away with it. But according to this argument now that he's forwarding, only Robert Pattinson had the professional integrity to really put his all into actually making his character feel well-rounded, and no one else did. Everyone else just took the script and just read the script. Now, if you watch the movie for yourself, you would know that this is, you know, literally Critical Drinker 101 bullshitting. Anyone who watches those movies will know the performances were outstanding. Lupita Nyong'o was outstanding for the few seconds that she was on screen. You literally felt every single emotion that she felt, you know, particularly the scene when she was playing her sister and she was, you know, getting her vengeance. Brilliant. It was a few seconds on the screen, but absolutely brilliant. And like I said, some of the people that he's listed, they all did fantastic performances, all of them. So this, what is he even talking about? No, it has to be trash. It just has to be trash because I'm the critical drinker. Look at him. Look, is that not the face of? I told you he takes a sip every time he's chatting BS, which is exactly what he's doing now.
And he did a good job, to be fair.
Oh, he did a great job. But, you know, it's really interesting because I've really got back into movies recently. And it seems to me like this idea that Hollywood is dead, it's kind of premature, because I went to watch Obsession in the cinema. I mean, that's a good movie.
Yeah.
That is a great movie.
I think, I don't think anyone would say Hollywood's dead. I think it's been on a decline, certainly in the past decade or so.
Literally just released, yeah, and 4 days ago. In fairness, he may not have been fully, when this was filmed, he might not have been privy to the results of the latest Spider-Man movie, which literally just invalidates this entire point. Oh, it's been on the decline. Certainly. The MCU is the last 10 years of movies, and they literally have turned over in a way that no other franchise has in cinematic history. And it seemed like they were petering out. I have to admit, their little kind of like, was it season 4, whatever it is, when they came out of the Eternals, they had a rocky let's say they had a rocky patch where some of the movies they were releasing were complete and utter shite. Yeah, but they're back again with the latest Spider-Man movie. That is unbelievable. You know, it's doing really well. I thought it was a good movie. It's not like the best movie I've ever seen, but it's a solid movie, like up there. Much better than the Ant-Man trilogy. I mean, the Ant-Man trilogies have to be the worst movies, some of the worst movies I've ever seen. But yeah, these are, you know, they're back with this latest Spider-Man movie. So they're back again. Once again, it's just cinema. Sometimes you got great movies coming out. Sometimes cinema is really quiet. It's just how it goes. Like trying to paint this narrative as though you guys are, oh, it's been in decline, and we've been the stalwart critics of it, and we're analyzing it, and we're making sure that everybody knows what's taking place in Hollywood. Like, mate, shut up, man. Like, you don't know what you're talking about, man.
It's been kept afloat by these big mega budget superhero movies, things like the MCU and DC and so on. You know, when you're pulling in like $2 billion per film, you're keeping the entire industry afloat. Those are tentpole movies. Obviously, that's petered out a little bit in recent years. People are moving beyond superhero movies, but the demand is still there.
Cinema doesn't work that way. You don't keep an industry afloat. Okay, if Marvel makes a whole bunch of profit, that profit goes to Marvel. They don't, it's not democratized. It's not like it's not some like centralized regulated industry where Marvel has to share all of its profits to make sure that the Hollywood machine keeps moving. It doesn't work that way. So people are still making in other words, there's plenty of money in cinema, and there's plenty of success and jobs. It's a thriving industry by any measurable kind of like, it has moved. Yeah, we do have streaming services, but streaming services that was the biggest threat to cinema, and they haven't destroyed cinema. People still want the experience of going out and watching movies in the cinema. In fact, streaming services have somewhat probably enhanced people's desire for that movie going experience, just to add that kind of like extra layer of something to do, you know, so that you're not constantly at home in front of your device. It's a little bit of a break from monotony, you know. So this is just a failed diatribe
for interesting films. And I think movies like Obsession proved, particularly with horror, all you need is a good idea, a good hook to get people in. You don't need a huge budget. You don't need...
What about Sinners? So Sinners is exactly the same. Okay, but you won't mention Sinners because Sinners has an inconvenient cast and an inconvenient political outlook that doesn't match his normal bigotry.
You need big special effects. You just need a good hook, a decent script, and some good actors, and away you go. And that movie cost $750,000 to make. It's sitting at like $450 million. It's on track, I think, to be the most profitable film of all time relative to budget. So the appetite is there.
And these guys love to talk numbers when it's within the favor of their political outlook, but they don't want to talk numbers when it comes to properties that are outside of their favor, and when their go woke, go broke predictions go wrong, which is pretty much every other movie.
For interesting movies, maybe not necessarily on the scale that we've seen them before, but scale down the budgets a little bit and you'll still turn a profit. So it can be done for sure.
And you look at like...
He scaled down the profit in his movie, by the way. Yeah, if anyone wants to know, Critical Drinker has a movie. And I think I'm going to just mention it periodically, because you'd think that he was a really successful filmmaker with the amount of critique he has for the industry and the amount of critique he has for Hollywood. You think he's probably a really good writer, really good filmmaker. Yeah, I think he raised, what was the budget? 300,000. I think he raised 300,000. Yeah, that's more. To be clear, the amount of money that he raised for his independent film was more than Obsession, the one that he just mentioned. He put out a 50-minute piece of crap, yeah, which is just literally the laughing stock. There's no movie, there's no theater in the world that would ever screen his trash movie, yeah. And he puts out this complete and utter trash, and then he's sitting there thinking that he can critique other movies, thinking that his opinion is kind of like, mate, shh, yeah, you don't have the qualifications to make these critiques, you idiot.
For instance, the cast. I'm into movies, not as much as I was, but I follow the directors, the actors. I didn't recognize any of those actors.
In Obsession?
Yeah.
No, they were mostly not unknowns, but relatively low profile. Not anymore, of course.
Yeah.
The girl,
like the ones you chose. That was great casting by you, by the way. For those of you who don't know, the Critical Drinker made a movie. Yeah, yeah. Feel free to go and watch it anytime you like it. If you ever need to watch, I would say it's a rib tickling comedy. Yeah, it's a rib tickling comedy. If you watch it in that regard, if you watch it as a parody comedy of an action movie, you know, same way that you'd watch something like, you know, what was it back in the day with damn, I've forgotten it. Yeah, there's good parodies back in the day. The ones, who's that guy with the white hair? I've got to have a complete brain block. But anyway, if you watch it in regard that it's a parody, you'll really enjoy it. You'll laugh from start to finish. Now, he didn't make it with that intention. He actually thought he was making a serious action movie. But yeah, he's got a movie. I suggest you check it out. I thought it's called Rogue Elements. Sorry. So it's called Rogue Elements, yeah, his movie. So like you Rogue Elements. Rogue Elements featuring John Baxter. As like it's like it was written by a 12-year-old, man. Please do watch it, guys. I wanna get him some views. Watch his movie. It's that good. It's such a good parody, I have to say.
Girl who was in that, I mean, she deserves all the awards for that performance. She absolutely carried that movie. I think Indy Navarrete is her name. But yeah, she'll be commanding like $10 million a movie within a few years easily.
And what it actually shows is what you're talking about. Look, and this was the thing that I found most egregious about the woke period. It's just all we ever wanted as audience members was to please tell us a story. And it doesn't matter what the story is. If it's a love story, tell us a good love story. If it's an action, well, there's an argument to be made that every story is a love story. But if it's an action movie, we don't want the other stuff. Just tell the story.
Absolutely, yeah. And that was always the pushback. You know, it's like, I don't want this movie to espouse my personal politics or reaffirm all my beliefs about the world.
Yeah, he just said that. Let's bring it back. This guy is just the picture of disingenuity. He literally just said that. Let's bring back what he just said in case you didn't hear it. This is his own words, and he's clearly pretending to be honest here. So I'm going to bring back what he just said there in case you missed it.
Tell the story.
Absolutely, yeah. And that was always the pushback. You know, it's like, I don't want this movie to espouse my personal politics or reaffirm all my beliefs about the world. It doesn't matter. It's entertainment. I'm there to escape from like the mundane realities of day-to-day life. And I'm there to escape from all the politics that comes with every other part of day-to-day life. So,
and yet you and your cohort released hours and dozens of videos. In fact, I'm going to use present tense. You and your colleagues continually release a majority of your content based on your gut feelings about reviews and based on your gut feelings about trailers. Yeah, about trailers. You and your cohort will release hours of content based on nothing but a trailer, analyzing how much that trailer matches your political outlook. Literally, you will analyze the amount of black people that are present. You will analyze the amount of women that are present. You will start to second guess what the storyline might be. You'll see if there are any DEI hires in the casting. God forbid there's going to be a transsexual person or anything like that. That's literally what your entire catalog is based on. And you're going to sit there with a straight face and be like, you know what? I don't need a movie to match my political outlook. You don't need to match my political outlook. Not at all. I'm not interested in all of that. I just want a good love story to be told. Mate, you're just lying. And you're just lying. You can't just lie. Like, how do these people like how does he function when you just literally tell the opposite of exactly what you do? This is literally the gaslighting they do, when they just literally act and live a certain way, and then they come out and they literally say the exact opposite of what they do on a day-to-day basis. This is just like, this is Trumpian, man.
that's all it needs to do, is entertain you. It's not that hard, but they made it hard.
You say they...
Who's they? They made it hard. And this is the thing about these guys, just very quickly. The mythical they that you hear from them so much, they are white males, my friend. You don't have a real enemy here. They keep talking about like this, like I said, they focus on Lupita Nyong'o like she funded, wrote, produced, directed, VFX, casted. She's just an actress, but you needed to make her the enemy because she could then occupy the role of they. This black woman is oppressing the white man. The reality is the white male director, the white male producers, the white male funders, the white male Hollywood, the white male production studio, the white male distributors, it's all white men. The entire machine is controlled by white men. Who is this mythical they that is trying to destroy white men? Because that's the part that I just don't understand. I don't understand. Who is the they? Who are they? Is that, do you believe there is a cabal? There's a powerful black family controlling Hollywood? Like what was, I don't understand who these people are complaining to or about.
Made it hard. Do you think they've learned their lesson now when we look at, for instance, The Odyssey, which isn't a woke movie, as we've discussed, and we look at Obsession, and we'll talk about Project Hail Mary as well. Do you think Hollywood might actually be waking up and smelling the proverbial coffee?
You can spend 3 hours in a cinema watching Christopher Nolan's movie.
And they complained. They just said The Odyssey wasn't a woke movie, but they complained along every step of the way until it was released. Like I said, more than any other movie that I've ever come across in history, to the point where it dragged me into a cinema culture war that I'm not interested in. Okay, I'm interested in history. Okay, that's what I'm interested in. Now I'm interested because it turns out that classic history is actually very, very interesting. Well, that's an aside. Like, I don't understand these people, man. Seriously.
Movie adaptation of The Odyssey, or you can spend that same 3 hours understanding the actual poem for free, guided by a Hillsdale College professor. Hillsdale College runs...
I'm going to skip over this. I don't need your ads. Okay, we're back.
It's totally free. Read the classics, study the West. That's hillsdale.edu.
We came in just in time for that, didn't we? Read the classics, study the West. No, not the West. Not the Western civilization. It's not the West. This is what they like to do. They like to cut. Do you know the whole argument? And this is just a complete side, but you know the whole argument of Western civilization? Do you know what that all rests upon? It all rests upon the fact that the Romans colonized Western Europe, yeah? And then after after 1,000-year dark ages, yeah, after 1,000 years of dark ages, we continued Roman civilization. That's their version of history. So they claim Greece and Rome and other connecting civilizations as part of Western civilization, because those great empires at some point in their history colonized where their actual ancestors are from. That's it. So Western civilization, the West, we classify them as the West. We claim them. We pull them into the West because they colonized us. So they do realize that on that same basis that they claim Western civilization, every single country that was colonized by Britain can claim British civilization. They do realize that. That includes Nigeria. So I'm going to now say, yeah, British history is my history. Yeah, it's mine as a Nigerian. Yeah, that's my history. Yeah, we continue the British system in Nigeria to this day. So that's my history. So we should see, when we make a movie about, we're going to cast a bunch of Nigerians. That'll be historically accurate. Now, look, guys, we're not going to go into the malls right now. Okay, I know a load of you are probably chomping at the bit, but I'm trying to make a point and land here. Yeah. If I make a biopic in the future about Queen Elizabeth II, it's totally correct for me to cast a Nigerian. Yeah, I'm going to cast a Yoruba woman to play Queen Elizabeth II in a forthcoming biopic, because we're a part of, in fact, we're not even going to call it British civilization. We're going to call it Nigerian civilization. Yeah. Britain is Nigerian civilization because they colonized us and we carry on that culture. Yeah, we carry on British culture. So therefore, Britain is Nigerian civilization. So we can just cast Nigerians everywhere that the British Empire. That's the logic. That might not sound like, but that's literally their logic. We were colonized by, therefore, they are a part of Western civilization. Like, they never called themselves Western. Not once did they say, we are the Western civilization. Okay, they never classified themselves as that. Okay, they did not regard any kind of relationship with the people where your ancestors are from. They did not like them. Okay, that was the backwards part of Earth that they tried to avoid as much as possible. So you have to realize that. You have to understand that. Okay, so if you're going to carry on, well, the West, or the West crap, then I'm going to start calling England Nigerian history. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Okay.
You/trigger.
Yes, they are. You can see a lot of the pivots starting to happen within the bigger franchises. Like Marvel is a good example of that. They've very much pivoted away from all that like political identity politics pandering. And I think Hollywood has grudgingly learned their lesson. I think maybe they convinced themselves, probably based on things like what they see on the internet, on social media, and so on, that the world was this progressive, like hard left utopia, and they needed to match that. And it didn't work out. And
Hollywood has not changed one bit. They're just literally cherry picking movies that they like. Like Sinners remains like one of the biggest like independent movies that has come out for a long time. Okay, like Hollywood hasn't changed its, it hasn't changed anything. It's that, and Sinners is literally the most woke casting in according to you guys that you could ever hope to see. So Hollywood hasn't changed. All this, what is this kind of like, all this posturing? Hollywood, we have to drag them kicking and screaming into the future and show them that you can't be too woke. And mate, shut the hell up. What the hell are you talking about? Seriously, like, what the hell are you talking about? None of what you said is true. Okay, Hollywood's just making movies that make money, and they'll continue to make movies that make money. A lot of them are going to be trash. Yeah, a lot of them I'm not going to be interested in. But the fact of the matter is, it's got nothing to do with what you guys do on a daily basis. You're just grifters who make money by getting angry white men even more angry about stuff they don't need to be angry about. That's literally your whole get up.
And it took tens of billions of dollars in lost revenue, probably over a decade, to finally realize it. But they got there in the end. It's just a shame that
I'm so gonna do this. I'm so gonna do this. I think, Kieran, if I'm correct, I think it might stream on YouTube. Yeah. And I think we might get away with that. We should do a cinematic viewing of Rogue Elements. We won't do it during prime time though. We'll do it like at midnight, sometime where most people like don't care or are asleep or whatever. Yeah. Oh yeah, we're doing that, man. We have to do that. That'll be totally hilarious. Yeah, let's do that. Let's add you as a mod as well. That's a good idea. So we'll put you as a mod. I haven't got any for this channel, so thank you for offering. Manage block wires. Yeah, let's add you as a mod. I'm gonna add Fabrice. I'm gonna add you as a mod as well, if you don't mind. Yeah, I'm gonna add you as a mod. A second. Oh, didn't mean to do that. I think you already are on. 1 second. No, you already are. So Fabrice, you're already a mod. Kieran's a mod. Yeah, that'll do for now. Is it working for you, Kieran? Leave a comment. Let me know if you're modded up now. You should be. Joy is a mod. Okay, that'll do for now. Obsidian Kitty. I hate Supercell. I have to tell you that. Like I don't like Supercell. Don't like Supercell. I don't like it's got far too much negative black stereotypes that it pushes out. I think it's one of those destructive, but it's what you like. I don't like Supercell. I don't like Top Boy. I don't like any of that crap. I think it's been very destructive for our society. It just is what it is. I have to be honest with you. I won't review them, and I won't talk about them unless people like, but I really dislike it. I think I had the opportunity to be excellent. Smelly, yes, this is the issue. See, Smelly mentioned the main character was positive. So why was he unalived 3 times by a group of young black boys? Yeah, that's disgusting to me. That's one of the main things that put me off. Because kind of like he wasn't even involved in that lifestyle, and it just kind of like promoted this whole idea that all young black boys do is unalive older black men, which is not really something that happens, but it's putting that energy out into the ether where young black boys have no respect for life. And it's not just people who are their own age, it's people who are older than them, people who are just doing their job, delivering goods, this, that, and the other. It's disgusting. I'm so sorry. It's disgusting. I hate that show. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I hate Supercell. I hate it. Really, really, really hate it for that reason. That's just me personally. And I appreciate that you understand that, because a lot of people come for me for that. Like, oh, you got to celebrate it. Oh, rap man, this, that, and the other. Nah, miss me with all of that. I've seen this as it's happened. I've seen the kind of shows that you'll get funding for in the UK, where the BBC will back you, this, that, and the other. And it's always the same formula, just like I reviewed David Ayala was Shoot the Messenger a few weeks ago on this channel during a live stream. And it's just like, these are the typical kind of shows that you'll get funding from, and you'll get people who just like, you know, participate in these in these spectacles where black people just make an absolute fool of themselves. But not only that, they degrade and they participate and they contribute to the fear that people, the disproportionate fear that people feel towards black people. And it doesn't do us any good. And I'm not going to like a film just because I see black people in it. I'm only going to like if I feel that black people, if it's a property of ours, I want to see us well represented. Okay, I want to see us represented well. And I feel that when these films, all they want to do is amplify the negative aspects of black society, and then say, oh, we're just being real. It's just reality, man. We're just telling people what reality is. Miss me with all that crap, because respectfully, how many movies, properties do you see where they show the reality of white people? Okay, because the reality of most white people in England, go to the town centres like Bedfordshire and Luton and this, that, and the other, and show real white people, respectfully, who are slow, Glasgow, who will knife each other, usually, who are backwards, and what, you know what I mean, like, who are just like really like common. They don't show that. Okay, they know that doesn't drive the society forward, and that's why the entire world is convinced that all of England speak Queen's English really well, and that's just not reality. The reality is there's a massive corpus of, you know, low performing Brits who never have media coverage, because they understand that you don't put a certain version of yourself out to the world. At least you don't make that your predominant messaging. Whereas I feel with the black community, our predominant messaging on any kind of media, film or anything, is our young black boys to be depicted as violent, as dangerous, as lustful, and they'll just literally use that as the entire message of us as a group. Okay, so I don't respect it. You know what I mean? And I don't like, I can't respect even if someone has managed to get a contract that way, because to me, like, being real, isn't that the definition of selling out? It's kind of like, hey, you know, we should celebrate his successes, but his success has come at my expense. His success has come at the expense of my son, who's now going to be viewed a certain way because he decided that that's how he was going to write all of the characters who look like my son. So yeah, not feeling it.
You know, so many of these pop culture franchises that we grew up with, you know, whether it's Star Trek or Star Wars or Indiana Jones, whatever it might be.
Exactly. Kieran Grant just said it's like if every white movie depicted white men like Brad Pitt in Snatch. Yeah. It's okay for an occasional character. It's okay for like, okay, cool. Yeah, we get it. You know, it's a bit of spice, you know, or it's a bit of like, yeah, I'm glad someone's talked about this part of our society. But when that becomes the entire messaging, that becomes your entire narrative, your entire, you know, how you're depicted to the rest of the world, that's where it becomes a big issue for me, you know. Shout out to you for understanding as well. But anyway, that's a bit of a side note. We're going to be wrapping this up, by the way, soon, guys, because this is going on for a bit too long. But let's get a few more lines in, laugh at Critical Jingo a couple of times, and then we'll finish out. Will Jordan, that's his name. I'd forgotten his name. His name's Will Jordan, and we are going to do that screening soon of Rogue Elements. That'll be a good little comedy watch.
They've all been casualties of war in the process, and they're not really going to come back in the way that they once did.
Do you think we're going to look back and go, I know you've got your criticisms of Christopher Nolan, as do I. He kind of reminds me of the guy you meet down the pub who's smart, but likes to tell you how smart he is. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You know, using words like chthonic and, you know, everyday conversation. You go, did you really need to, Christopher? But are we going to look back at him?
I agree with that critique of Christopher Nolan, by the way. I think that's a fair critique of Christopher Nolan.
Particularly with Oppenheimer, and go, like, this is a guy who maybe saved Hollywood.
I mean, ultimately, as I said earlier, I would take like 10 Christopher Nolan movies over one like crappy, franchise rehash, some dumb popcorn movie. Whatever criticisms I or anyone else might have of something like
What a dumb comment. I would take 10 Christopher Nolan movies over one dumb popcorn movie. I'm sure. I think you meant to say the other way around. I think you meant to say I'll take one Christopher Nolan movie over 10 popcorn. Yeah, that's okay. Semantics. Maybe it was just a slip of the tongue. I'm sure he's got something intelligent to wrap up this statement with. Let's bring back
some dumb popcorn movie. Whatever criticisms I or anyone else might have of something like The Odyssey, it's still a relatively intelligent movie grappling with some pretty challenging source material. And hey, there's a lot of people now that are probably going to read The Odyssey in its original form because of this movie. It'll pique their...
You should do that. That's what I think. You should read The Odyssey in its original form, and then maybe make a habit of, if you're going to make a big song and dance about a movie being historically accurate or being true to the source material, that you make a habit of actually reading the source material before you make your reviews, and then you won't make idiotic statements like you've done in this interview, talking about Odysseus's character in a way that is not reflected in the books. Maybe just a bit of advice there.
Their interest in classic literature. So hey, if Hollywood has to go in one direction, I'd rather it was that.
Well, yeah, the only thing is, like you said earlier, and I think all of us were discussing this, you kind of put it up there with the ancient world war movies, and you go Gladiator, Troy, you can throw a few others in there, but it's like, it's not even on that level. You know what I mean? And you're talking about one of the greatest directors in Hollywood history, according to some people, and one of the greatest stories in the Western canon, if you like, and it's just like 7 out of 10 at a stretch. Unlike a Gladiator, that was 10.
Yeah, I mean, for me,
I think it's quite similar to Gladiator. I think Troy was critically trashed. I think people do forget this. Okay, the casting also was completely trashed, and I have mentioned this, and I'll mention this again. When they first did the casting for Troy, and this was back before, kind of like after the Swords and Sandals era, we'd had a little break, and then we'd moved into this kind of like new era of ancient movie making, and people was hoping that Hollywood would have kept up and actually started including people who were actually from the region. And then when Troy came out and the casting was like super white, okay, and particularly Achilles, people couldn't understand why Achilles, who's kind of like known to be a Greek, was given blonde hair. There was uproar at the time. People were like, why the heck has Achilles got blonde hair? And people didn't understand why they made, Brad Pitt, who, even though he got as jacked as he could, still looked really skinny. And I was like, this is just not gonna work. Like, what are you doing? And then obviously it has the opening scene where Brad Pitt runs and he does the sword thing, he does the jump, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, Achilles is badass. So everyone kind of got into it afterwards, but it took a while for everyone to adjust to the way that he looked, the casting choices. None of this was kind of like, oh, this all makes perfect sense. None of this made sense, okay? But people were willing to buy into it, give it a chance. And over time, Troy became very beloved. It did take time for Troy to become more of a kind of like a beloved property, but it wasn't at the time. So let's be real about that. Are people going to understand that? No, because it doesn't meet their political agenda. Shout out to Kieran Grant. Thank you very much for your $5. He said, for the culture, Will is dumb. Yeah. And he glazed the new Spider-Man movie, a dumb Marvel. Well, this is the thing. They have no choice but to glaze it because it's the best performing movie in recent years. Like, I think it's already broke $1 billion. That is crazy. In a week, it's already broke $1 billion. Like, it's doing ridiculous numbers. And you have no choice but to glaze it, but it hasn't done anything different. It's no less woke than, in fact, it's just like sitting right in the kind of the center of the wokeometer that they have. Yeah, it's got all of the woke checkpoints in place. It's like, yep, female, black, yep, check, another female, yep, this, that, and the other, badass, you know what I mean, girl boss, this, that, and the other, has all of the woke checkpoints, all the things that they hate, but they have to glaze it. And then they're like, oh, well, we just want a good story. We don't care. It's not about that. It is about that, because you're grifters. Yeah, it's all about that. But anyway, shout out to you. Thank you very much for your $5. Appreciate it very much.
Me, the the bar for this sort of thing is, would I want to watch it again? Right.
Yeah.
And so you could probably say you're flicking through the channels, you happen to catch Gladiator on.
Oh, yeah.
You'd probably say, yeah, I'll watch this. It's pretty good. With the Odyssey, nah. I said at the end of my review, I'll probably never watch it again and probably not really think about it again. But then you guys are asking me about it and you're making me think about it, damn it.
Well, you do this for a living, comment on movies. But we wanted to touch on Project Hail Mary as well. That's another very, very popular and successful movie.
Yes, absolutely. Again, when you guys talk about the lack of politics, the lack of pandering in it, great. It's a movie.
All of these movies, have you noticed as well? All these movies that they're mentioning, white male protagonists. Oh my God, there's a woke agenda. Like, not really. Not really. Okay, there's plenty of room for white males. Okay, they're not having a kind of like any shortages in the Hollywood studio demand to have a white male protagonist. This is a crisis entirely of their own imagination. Okay, that's literally all this is.
Movie that's just entirely about, you know, adventure, science, friendship, just universal themes that basically anyone could watch. And you don't have to be like some hardcore science fiction nut to appreciate it. You know, it's not pitched at the same level of a Christopher Nolan movie.
I've had enough of listening to this idiot talk. Okay, well, I think we're gonna wrap up there, because as you can see, this guy just talks out of his ass, contradicts himself constantly, and you can see this is it. This is the cope agenda. The cope agenda now is to pretend that they will always know. We were never that bothered about the Odyssey anyway. You know, never that bothered. It's all good to us. You know, it could have gone either way. We would have been absolutely fine with it. We're not. we weren't that bothered. You were, okay. You were really that bothered, okay. At least the one decent thing about Critical Drinker is he understands when he's held an L, okay, and he's trying to sidestep and trying to, like, you know, soften his messaging now. Meanwhile, back in Metatronville, that stupid idiot is still on his agenda, still on his grift, because obviously he's addicted to the fact that he's pretty much what every one of these anti-woke, anti-Nolan, anti-Lupita Nyong'o videos he does, he gets nearly 100K, which is like, yeah, he's doing really well. He's getting plenty of, and he's got to keep this grift going for as long as possible. So he's still doing it. He hasn't moved one bit. He hasn't realized they lost. Yeah, and everyone else is kind of like waved the white flag. Okay, we were wrong. He's just still on it. He's like, yes, I am. Nolan, and doing all of this stupid, like, it's just like, God, get a life, you know. But anyway, just wanted to show you that this is the sad state of affairs that these idiots are in. Okay, they're in kind of desperation mode, grasping for credibility. I actually think the benefit of this, and there is a benefit, is that they've all taken a big knock. You can say what you want. These idiots have taken a massive credibility knock. I'm telling you right now. And I bet you will start to show in their numbers as well, because this campaign was supposed to basically, you know, this was supposed to validate their channels. It was supposed to qualify them. This was their big, we have more power than the studios. Odyssey will fail. No, the Odyssey done even better. Okay, done even better than predicted because of what you did. So these people have now realized we are powerless in the face of this machine. And I think it's going to have a massive effect on the popularity of their channels. And I look forward to that. Shout out to you guys. Obsidian Kitty, shout out to you. Thanks, TK. I'm glad I caught the live, and thanks for the perspective. I appreciate that. Hope I wasn't too hard on that, but that's I want to give you my honest opinion there. Shout out to everybody who's been in the chat, Kieran, Tronica, etc., etc. Let me give a big shout out to Kieran, and who's my latest mod as well, and Dregar. Thank you guys very much for your donations. They are much appreciated, and thank you guys for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that little dressing down of the critical clown. But I think we'll call it a day now. That's a long stream, and I'll hopefully be posting up a new video onto the King's Monologue today as well. Like I said before, if you haven't subscribed to the King Mono Show, make sure you hit subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace. Shout out for Bruce.